One is to become involved with the many awesome tree steward like organizations in the city of Richmond. Some that come to mind right away would be Southside Relief, the Groundwork RVA, the Seeds of Change organization, the Capital Trees, the Richmond Tree Stewards. All of those groups are basically working to increase the urban tree canopy in the city of Richmond, which does one really amazing thing. Over time, it will physically cool down some of our neighborhoods relative to how hot they are now. So by providing more shade, they'll actually physically create natural air conditioning in our communities. Extreme heat kills more people in our country than any other weather related hazard every single year. And we don't really, every time I say that to people, people are amazed by that fact. You know, we tend to hear about hurricanes and follow them on the news because they're a process that's playing out in a very discrete area over time and space. Heat waves are like the one that we're experiencing right now is affecting 100 million people across the United States. Very few storms that are really charismatic and followable. Heat waves are much more silent and nefarious in that way. One of the most innovative programs I've seen in the city is from Project Homes. They offer free window mounted air conditioning units to qualifying households from lower income neighborhoods. And I sincerely stress, if anybody is without air conditioning in our Central Virginia region, to reach out to Project Homes and find out if your household qualifies for this program, because it is one of the easiest ways to keep your family safe in the conditions that we're going to be experiencing like this weekend. Here in Richmond, we observed a 16-degree Fahrenheit difference between the coolest and warmest place at the exact same time during a heat wave in 2017. We found a similar magnitude difference just last summer when we redid that exact same analysis. We were able to show that this is a very stable signal. This is something that it affects the city regardless of what day or year we're looking at it. As long as it's hot outside, this kind of large difference exists. Taking a look at our day-to-day lives and identifying where there are those really carbon intensive things that we do. This tends to break down in two places for Americans, mostly in travel and transportation and in diet. And while I don't think that any one person's dietary choices or travel choices are really going to, have a planetary effect, the more and more of us that begin doing it together and creating a community around lessening the carbon intensity of our meals through reducing things like red meat in our diets. Americans eat more red meat than any other culture in the history of the world. And two, changing the way we think about transportation. The number one source of carbon emissions to the atmosphere from the average Virginian is their driving habits. Figuring out ways that we can get around our neighborhoods in more healthy, active ways, like walking or biking, or taking alternative forms of transportation like public transportation. Right now, GRTC is free. The bus system is free right now. If we are concerned about gas prices, this is a great time to start thinking about how we can change up our transportation patterns, even one day a week. We can take one day a week to eat differently and travel differently. And then that might start to resonate and create a positive feedback through our lives that allows other people to see, wow, that I can do that too. And it's through those sorts of social movements that we start to see the groundswell around really, truly taking the necessity of lowering our carbon emissions and scaling it up to where it needs to be. Meaning taking a very what would otherwise be an unusable parcel of land, very small, maybe lawn space or even a parking space, and transforming that into a useful public realm. So instead of housing a empty car, it now is space for 12 people to have lunch together under some shaded trees or shade awnings. So we've been able to do that at Rosemore Park, which is at the corner of Roseneath and Moore Streets in Scott's Addition. We're also working to improve the West Broad Street Green, which is right at Belmont and Broad Street, right off of the Scott's Addition BRT stop, the Pulse stop, as well as right here at the Science Museum of Virginia. We depaved a 2-acre parking lot, meaning ripped all of that surface parking lot up, and we are creating a civic green space called the Green at the Science Museum of Virginia. So these micro parks can serve as little tiny community air conditioners. They can work like little tiny ShamWows to soak up the rain that falls on them. And then they can work like little air purifiers too, and little tiny therapists and little tiny economic boosters. By allowing people more space to get out and do something in a cool green area, the more healthy our community becomes.